Mars is not a destination. It is a psychological experiment on the limits of the human species. When humanity first dreamed of walking on the red planet, the idea felt heroic. But in reality, the journey to Mars is closer to imprisonment than exploration. Mars is separated from Earth by an ever-changing distance. At its closest, the two planets are separated by more than 50 million kilometers. At their farthest, that distance stretches beyond 400 million kilometers. Even with the most advanced spacecraft ever designed, the trip will take between 6 and 9 months. During this time, astronauts will live inside a pressurized metal habitat with a total usable space smaller than a city apartment. There will be no fresh air, no open windows, no natural light. Everything will be filtered, recycled, and carefully rationed. On Earth, the human body evolved under the constant pull of gravity. Remove that force, and the body begins to shut down systems it no longer thinks it needs. Within weeks, muscles begin to shrink. Bones lose calcium density. The heart weakens because it no longer has to pump blood upward. Even eyesight begins to degrade as fluids shift inside the skull. After 6 months in microgravity, astronauts can lose up to 30% of their muscle mass. Now imagine arriving on Mars in this condition, weakened, disoriented, and immediately forced to perform the most physically demanding tasks of your life just to survive. But physical decay is not the most dangerous threat. The true killer during the journey to Mars is something you cannot see: cosmic radiation. On Earth, we are protected by a powerful magnetic field that deflects most high-energy particles from deep space. But once a spacecraft leaves Earth's protective bubble, that shield disappears. Cosmic rays stream through the cabin walls and into the bodies of the crew. They rip through DNA, damage cells, and dramatically increase the risk of cancer and neurological disorders. A single Mars mission will expose astronauts to more radiation than most people on Earth receive in their entire lifetime, and there is nothing they can do to escape it. No matter how thick the walls are, some radiation will always pass through. By the time the crew finally reaches Mars, they will not be heroes stepping onto a new world. They will be survivors who have already endured one of the most hostile environments ever faced by human beings. And the mission has only just begun. Arriving on Mars does not mean safety. In fact, landing on the red planet is when the most dangerous phase of the mission truly begins. From orbit, Mars looks calm, a silent red world beneath a thin atmosphere. But the moment humans step onto its surface, they enter an environment that is actively hostile to life. Mars has no breathable air. Its atmosphere is more than 96% carbon dioxide, with trace amounts of nitrogen and argon. Oxygen exists only in microscopic quantities. Without a spacesuit, a human would lose consciousness in less than 15 seconds. Within 1 minute, death would be unavoidable. But suffocation is not the only danger. Mars's atmospheric pressure is less than 1% of Earth's. This means that unprotected bodily fluids would begin to boil at body temperature. Blood would not explode, but oxygen dissolved in the bloodstream would rapidly escape, causing fatal embolisms. Mars does not kill violently. It kills quietly and efficiently. Radiation, a constant invisible threat. Unlike Earth, Mars has no global magnetic field. This single fact changes everything. On Earth, our magnetic field deflects a large portion of cosmic radiation and solar particles. Mars lost its magnetic field billions of years ago, leaving its surface exposed. Every second on Mars, radiation rains down from deep space and the Sun. Over the course of a year, an astronaut on Mars would receive radiation doses equivalent to hundreds of chest X-rays. Over multiple years, the risk becomes extreme. DNA damage accumulates. Cancer probability rises sharply. Neurological effects may become permanent. This is why early Mars habitats will not be built on the surface. They will be buried. several meters beneath Martian soil, which acts as a natural radiation shield. Living underground is not a design choice. It is the only way to stay alive. The reality of Mars. Mars habitats will not resemble futuristic cities. They will resemble submarines, sealed metal structures with no windows, no balconies, and no access to the outside world without full protective suits. Every square meter will be optimized for efficiency. Sleeping quarters will be small. Privacy will be minimal. Noise from life support systems will never stop. Air circulation fans will run constantly. Carbon dioxide scrubbers will operate around the clock. Temperature control systems will fight against external cold that can drop below -60 degrees Celsius. A single system failure could cascade into disaster. On Earth, emergencies allow evacuation. On Mars, there is nowhere to go. Mars dust, the silent saboteur. Mars is covered in fine electrostatically charged dust. This dust is not harmless. It contains perchlorates, toxic chemical compounds harmful to human health. Mars dust sticks to everything: spacesuits, equipment, airlocks. Over time, it damages seals, clogs filters, and degrades machinery. During global dust storms, sunlight can be blocked for weeks. Solar power drops dramatically. Temperatures fall. Communication becomes unstable. Mars does not need earthquakes or hurricanes to threaten survival. Dust alone can cripple a colony. Working outside, every step is a risk. Every time a human leaves the habitat on Mars, they are gambling with their life. Spacesuits must maintain pressure, temperature, oxygen supply, and radiation shielding simultaneously. A small tear, a failed valve, a frozen joint. Any one of these can be fatal. Unlike Earth, emergency medical care is extremely limited. A serious injury on Mars is often a death sentence. There is no hospital. There is no evacuation helicopter. There is only the thin line between life and vacuum, time, distance, and isolation. Communication with Earth is delayed. Depending on planetary positions, signals can take between 4 and 24 minutes to travel one way. This means real-time conversation is impossible. In emergencies, help is always late. Mars settlers must solve problems alone. Every decision must be final. Mistakes cannot be undone. Over time, this isolation reshapes human psychology. Stress levels rise. Sleep patterns break down. Anxiety and depression increase. Mars is not just physically distant, it is emotionally unreachable. A new definition of survival. On Earth, survival means shelter, food, and water. On Mars, survival means maintaining a fragile technological ecosystem that must never fail. Life support systems, power generation, radiation shielding, water recycling, oxygen production, each depends on the others. Remove one, and everything collapses. Mars is not forgiving. It does not allow recovery. It allows only precision. At this stage of the mission, the question changes. It is no longer, can we get to Mars? It becomes, can we stay? On Earth, survival is natural. On Mars, survival is engineered. Nothing on the red planet is designed for human life. Every breath, every sip of water, every calorie must be produced through technology. There are no ecosystems to support us. We must build one from nothing. Creating oxygen from a poisoned sky. Mars' atmosphere is composed almost entirely of carbon dioxide. For humans, this is not air, it is poison. NASA's MOXIE experiment has already demonstrated that oxygen can be extracted from carbon dioxide using electrochemical processes. The device works by heating the Martian atmosphere to extreme temperatures and splitting carbon dioxide molecules into oxygen and carbon monoxide. On Mars, these systems will not be experimental. They will be permanent. Entire colonies will depend on machines performing chemical reactions flawlessly every second of every day. Oxygen will not be free-flowing. It will be rationed, monitored, Every person's breathing will be part of a calculated life support equation. A power loss of only a few hours could empty the habitat of breathable air. Water. Recycling survival. Water is buried beneath Mars as ice. To obtain it, settlers must drill through frozen regolith, melt the ice, purify it, and feed it into a closed-loop recycling system. Every molecule will be counted. Sweat, urine, condensation from breath. All captured, all filtered, all reused. On Earth, water scarcity is an inconvenience. On Mars, water scarcity is extinction. Growing food without soil. Mars has no living soil, no bacteria, no microbial ecosystems. Plants must grow in sterile, controlled environments using hydroponics or aeroponics. Roots suspended in nutrient-rich mist. Artificial sunlight replacing the sun. Every leaf will be a product of engineering. There will be no traditional agriculture, only biological manufacturing. Food production systems must maintain temperature, humidity, nutrient flow, and lighting without interruption. If the power fails, the food supply collapses. Within weeks, starvation begins. The energy problem. Everything on Mars depends on power. Oxygen machines, water extraction, food growth, heating systems. The primary sources of energy will be solar arrays and possibly nuclear reactors. But Mars is famous for global dust storms. These storms can cover the planet for months, blocking sunlight almost completely. During these periods, energy generation plummets. Without backup systems, a colony could freeze, suffocate, and starve simultaneously. Mars does not allow single points of failure. Every system must be redundant. Every failure must be anticipated. A manufactured ecosystem. On Earth, life is self-sustaining. On Mars, life is a constant balancing act. The colony will function like a spaceship, not a city. Every person is both a resident and a technician. Everyone must understand how the systems work, because ignorance can be fatal. A single human error could compromise the entire habitat. By this point in the mission, settlers will understand a terrifying reality. They are not living on Mars. They are being kept alive in spite of Mars. Mars will not break the body first. It will break the mind. Every system built to keep humans alive on the red planet is mechanical. But the human brain is not a machine. It evolved to walk through forests, hear birds, feel rain, and look at endless horizons. On Mars, none of these things exist. There are no oceans, no clouds, no living landscapes, only dust, rock, and silence. The collapse of normal time. On Earth, time is anchored by natural rhythms: sunrise, sunset, seasons. Mars has a slightly longer day than Earth, about 24 hours and 39 minutes. This difference may seem small, but over months and years it slowly disrupts the human circadian rhythm. Sleep cycles become unstable. Fatigue becomes constant. Without natural light, the brain loses its ability to regulate hormones properly. This is not inconvenience. This is neurological stress. Isolation beyond anything in human history. The distance between Earth and Mars is not just physical. It is emotional. At its closest, radio signals take about 4 minutes to travel one way. At its farthest, 24 minutes. A conversation becomes a series of recorded messages. No laughter in real time, no comfort in emergencies. Mars settlers will never hear a human voice respond instantly. Every word will arrive from a ghost in the past. Confinement and cognitive decline studies, conducted in Antarctic research stations and underwater habitats, reveal a disturbing pattern. After only a few months of isolation, people experience loss of memory, mood swings, depression, irritability, hallucinations. And these are people who know they can return home. Mars settlers cannot. This is not a mission. This is exile. The weight of finality. On Earth, mistakes are survivable. On Mars, they are permanent. A wrong decision can kill an entire colony. This knowledge never leaves the mind. Every action is shadowed by the possibility of catastrophe. Over time, the brain shifts into a state of constant alertness. Stress becomes the default. Calm becomes foreign. The birth of a new psychology. Eventually, the settlers will change. Their priorities, their fears, their definition of happiness. A walk outside will no longer be freedom. It will be work, risk, procedure. Mars will not create explorers. It will create a new psychological species, humans adapted to permanent confinement.